it's a bit ridiculous. It is a bit ridiculous because, like, there's no it's only the Fever that'll ever get punished for this. It's only the Fever. And again, maybe there are situations where people don't say it, but like Stephanie White, she just admitted that she got fined. For what? She just got fined for saying she wants the officiating to be fair.
Stephanie White just learned the hard way what happens when you call out WNBA officiating. Spoiler, the fine comes quicker than a whistle in a kid's pickup game. And her offense? Telling the truth a little too loudly. She pointed out what many were already thinking, that the refs might not be getting it right. That alone was enough for the league to step in and drop a fine like she crossed some serious line, instead of simply demanding fairness on the court.
What would be the main one, you think, if you could just pick one top area?
Are you trying to get me fined again?
No.
Because I did just get fined.
Now, Stephanie White wasn't screaming, flipping tables, or channeling Bobby Knight. No, she did something far more dangerous in the WNBA's eyes. She used logic. She stood up for her players, her team, and, brace yourself, accountability. Because apparently, pointing out that officiating has been as inconsistent as a toddler's bedtime routine is crossing a line. And for that, the league brought the hammer down like she tried to torch the entire rulebook instead of just asking for fairness. Let's be clear. Stephanie White didn't go rogue. She wasn't out there calling refs clowns, though if the foam shoe fits. She simply spoke up after her Indiana Fever went through a stretch of games where the officiating felt more like a blooper reel than professional basketball. And how did the WNBA respond? They fined her. Not the refs. Not the replay crew. Just the person who pointed out the problem. Because apparently that makes perfect sense. It's like blaming the weatherman for the hurricane instead of questioning the forecast.
This gotta stop, bro. So Caitlin Clark's coach has just been fined over $1 million after this altercation she had with the ref that's going viral, and the WNBA thinks that she crossed the line and is fining her $1 million, which we all know is more than her salary. I mean, you're gonna tell me she's gonna lose $1 million for that? The WNBA is just completely cooked.
And let's not dress this up as decorum. This feels more like the WNBA trying to duct tape anyone who dares question its crystal ball style officiating. Because the Indiana Fever aren't just any team right now. They're the spotlight team, thanks to a not-so-unknown rookie named Caitlin Clark. You might have heard of her. She's brought more attention to the league than it's seen in years, like a dunk contest crashing a chess tournament. And that's what makes this whole situation louder. With more eyes than ever on the game, this was the moment for officiating to rise to the occasion. Instead, it's felt like the exact opposite, like the biggest stage arrived and the consistency disappeared.
Stephanie, I can assure you, nobody gives a fuck that you got fined. I can guarantee you that. Nobody gives a shit that you got fined. You got fined, so now you go into the post game and you don't defend your players, you don't stick up for your players, you don't address the clear physicality going on with your team compared to every other team. The clear hand checking that goes on to your star player compared to other star players. Now we're headed in the cloud.
So naturally, Stephanie White stands up and says, maybe we protect players. Maybe we call what's right in front of us. Maybe, just maybe, consistency would help. And the WNBA reacts like she just tried to leak state secrets. The message? Loud and clear. Question the refs, even respectfully, and you're getting fined. Not because the point is wrong, but because it was said out loud. It starts to feel less about maintaining order and more about shutting down criticism before it spreads. Meanwhile, all eyes are on Caitlin Clark, and that's where the frustration really boils over. Fans see the contact, the physical play, the missed whistles, and then see the opposite called the other way. That gap between what people are watching and what's being called? That's where the noise comes from. And here's the real issue. When players and coaches feel like they can't even point that out without punishment, it doesn't build trust. It erodes it. Because accountability isn't the enemy of the game, it's what keeps it credible.
And she got fined for making comments about the officiating. Like, and there's a reason why this got deleted from the Fever's official press conference. There's a reason why this got deleted from the Fever's press conference. Like, so she called out teams being overly physical in game 2. So then in games 3 and 4, they just hacked Caitlyn, and the WNBA made a point to not call anything on Caitlyn. They made a point to not call anything. Like, they actively made it a point. After Stephanie White came out and said, you know, we're being they're allowing them to just shove us. We need to expect that the referees aren't going to give us anything. And then she goes, after she says that, they made it a point to not call fouls on Caitlyn.
The most darkly ironic part of all this is watching the reaction when Caitlyn Clark takes a hit. Fans see the contact, the hard falls, the no calls, and it starts to feel like the threshold for a whistle keeps moving. That's where the frustration turns from noise into a real conversation about consistency and player protection. And again, this isn't just about one player. It circles back to Stephanie White and what happens when someone speaks up. A coach tries to defend her players, calls for accountability, and suddenly the response feels heavier than the issue itself. That disconnect is what people are reacting to. At its core, this is about balance. The WNBA wants to protect its image and maintain control, but the players, coaches, and fans want transparency and consistency. When those two things clash, it creates exactly this kind of tension. Because the real risk isn't criticism, it's ignoring it.
This don't make no sense, man. This don't make no sense. I think Stephanie White has had enough of all the bullshit going on in the WNBA.
Let's be real. Watch even a short stretch of Indiana Fever games lately, and you can understand why fans are frustrated. The inconsistency is what stands out most. One end gets a whistle for minimal contact, the other lets obvious physical play go. That's where all the vibes officiating talk starts creeping in, because it doesn't feel predictable anymore. And when Stephanie White steps up and says, hey, this might be a problem, the response from the WNBA ends up becoming part of the story. Instead of addressing the concern, it shifts the spotlight onto the criticism itself. That's why the reaction feels so strong. It's not just about one call or one game, it's about the pattern. Fans and teams don't expect perfection, but they do expect consistency and a sense that concerns are being heard. When that's missing, even small issues start to feel bigger than they are. Because at the end of the day, pointing out smoke isn't the problem. The problem is whatever caused it in the first place.
Stephanie White, and I guess in one case it sort of lets her off the hook for not having challenged the foul on Lexi Hull on the drive into the basket by Sabrina Ionescu that allowed her to shoot the free throws that essentially clinched the ball game. I did not know this, and I think what really got me thrown off was, and I tried to find the clip to that play because the CBS announce team said Stephanie White's got a challenge left. All right, when that foul took place, CBS said she's got a challenge left. Well, it didn't matter. She couldn't use it.
Instead, it feels like the WNBA is playing a full-on game of whack-a-mole with dissent. Speak up, bonk, here's a fine. Speak again, bigger bonk. Keep going, and you might as well start budgeting for it. At this rate, it almost feels like emotion itself is under review. Stephanie White reacts to a missed call? That's a penalty. Show frustration in a tight fourth quarter? Better keep it subtle. The line between passion and punishment starts looking awfully thin. And that's where the satire writes itself. Coaches expressing basic human reactions begin to feel like they're being monitored more closely than the actual gameplay. Meanwhile, the original issue, the consistency of officiating, keeps getting pushed to the background. Because when the response to criticism becomes stricter than the issue being criticized, it sends a message. Control matters more than correction. And that's the part fans and teams are struggling to ignore.
I mean, the offense sucks. With Caitlin Clark in the lineup, the offense sucks. Without Caitlin Clark in the lineup, the offense sucks. The only time this offense has looked good in the past year has been the second half of last WNBA season. This offense sucks. Bad, garbage, basura. Throw it away, flush it down the toilet. Drop it off at a bus stop and never return.
And can we drop the idea that criticizing officials is some kind of unforgivable sin? That's not what damages the game. What actually chips away at integrity is when the product on the court doesn't match the standard fans expect. Missed calls, inconsistent whistles, and moments where physical play crosses the line without consequence. When Stephanie White speaks up, that's not subversion, it's accountability. It's a coach saying the obvious out loud. If the standard slips, the game suffers. And in a league like the WNBA, where visibility is growing and scrutiny is higher than ever, those concerns carry even more weight. At its core, integrity isn't built on silence, it's built on trust. Trust that calls will be consistent. Trust that player safety matters. Trust that when something is off, it can be addressed without turning the messenger into the problem. Because if everything on the court is being handled the right way, no one needs to raise their voice in the first place. And when they do, punishing that voice doesn't protect the game, it just makes the issue harder to ignore.
I'm not even going to talk about the foul situation because those refs fucking sucked. And I'm not just saying the non-calls for the Fever, just the calls in general. There were calls against it. I don't understand how some things are fouls in the WNBA and then some things aren't fouls. You got hand checking, you got pushing, grabbing jerseys, and then you got someone lightly touching somebody. And it's a foul. It's like, wait, that's a foul?
Or maybe the WNBA thinks this somehow plays well. That fining a coach for speaking up will land as strong leadership, instead of what it looks like to most people, overreaction. Because fans aren't applauding this. They're questioning it. Players aren't reassured, they're frustrated. And the league ends up looking less confident, not more. The optics matter here. This is a league pushing for growth, visibility, and respect. Moments like this should be about highlighting the quality of play, the rising stars, the competition. Instead, the conversation shifts to discipline, fines, and whether criticism is being shut down instead of addressed. That's not momentum, that's distraction. And that's what makes the situation with Stephanie White stand out. She represents exactly what you want more of. Engaged, vocal, protective of her players, willing to push for better standards. When someone like that speaks up, it should spark evaluation, not punishment. Because in the long run, leagues don't lose credibility from criticism. They lose it when they look like they can't handle it.
That was not underneath the basket. That was hard to see. The back-to-back. She had her back to her. It was in the open area. At least two of the refs, if not three of them, should have seen that foul. Caitlin pointed to it. They still didn't blow their whistle. She goes over there, and she played on the ball. She clearly was not letting her arms go up.
Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark, the golden goose of the WNBA, is getting body checked like she accidentally wandered into an NFL practice wearing a "hit me" sign. She's not just taking normal contact, she's being bulldozed, elbowed, hip-checked, and flattened like it's a competitive sport in itself. If she makes it through her rookie season without some sort of injury saga, it'll deserve its own documentary. And the refs? Basically statues with whistles, silent, stoic, unbothered. Their commitment to ignoring blatant fouls is so absolute, they make Switzerland look aggressive. You could run a construction crane through her, and the lead ref would probably squint, shrug, and call it incidental contact. Next time you watch a Indiana Fever, watch Stephanie White.